Alright, hello. So I am Nitishko Suru, and this is my CSE 335 class project. My class project is called My Week Planner. So pretty much what my application does is it's going to be it will be able to help organize a user's weekly activities. You first kind of start with the category type of like events that you have that could include from classes to work, other categories like that. And each event of that category type has a description, a time, and a location. And then for each event, there is a map that will show the location of the event based on the address given for it. And then it will show also the location of the user. And then between those 2 points, it will be easy to call an API and use, and then find the distance between those two users. So this is just kind of the UI walkthrough. So our first page here, we can see that we have the home page with each type of day, so Monday through Sunday. And then if you click on a certain day, you go to the category list view, which has every single type of category that you have added or that are already preloaded there. Here you have the plus button up on the top right so that you can add a category. So by doing that, you can just go to a page with a text field, add the category, and then it should be added as a new cell into this category list view. And then if you press on one of the categories, such as classes, you go to a classes, another list view of the classes that you have for that certain day. So here you have classes, and then it shows each class that you have based on the time, with the time next to it. And then again, top right, you can, if you go top right, you can add an event. So that that will go to a page right here in this one. So here you can add the title, the time of the event, the location of the event, and the description. Press submit. When I'm pressing submit, it will be added to the list of events that you have for that category. Then if you press on the certain event, you go to the event page where it shows the time, the location, which is the address that you gave, the description of the event, and a map view, which will show the current user location and then the location of the event, and then this distance label, which uses an API to find the distance between those two locations. Here is my class diagram. So not to go like too detailed into it, but we just have a navigate controller, which goes to your first view controller, which is the list of days, which is the week list. And this we have communicating with a class planner data, which holds two types of arrays. Also communicates with the event object, which has the title, the description, location, and the time of the event. So yeah, view controller is just the table cells with correct methods to load the table cells and populate with the description, which is in this case the days of the week. So then view controller goes to the category table view controller, which is the list of categories. Same thing here, just methods that will set up the table view, and then the segue for both of these, which will go to the other necessary pages. So then this category table view connects with the add new category view controller, which has a new category, which is a string, and there's two buttons there, which is save, which saves a category to each category list, and then cancel, which just cancels the action of trying to add a new category. And then the category table view controller goes to the event table view controller, which has the list of events that you have for that category. which then communicates with a new event controller, which is just the same thing pretty much. You can add an event or cancel adding an event. And that has the same kind of text fields where you add the title of the event, the time, the location, and the description. Then, based in the table view of the events, you can go to specific event, um, which has the CA location manager, which helps me um, create the map that you see on the event, which shows the locations. And then there's just there's two. The main method here is a location manager event, which is where which is a method where you can see me trying to prepare the location of the user and the event. And then also here, this is where I call the Google Maps API to calculate the distance. This is the MVC architecture diagram. Pretty standard. We have the model, which holds the core data storage for the daily event, the events, and then the categories. And yeah, so that's that. Then this communicates with the controller, and it notifies it of like map locations, the distance computed, and if event information has changed. The controller lists the weekly view, shows the real-time map, calls the distance API, um, and then sends any new data of events or categories to the core data for storage. It retrieves the data for the events. It updates the view with any required data, handles the user interactions of adding events or categories or modifying anything, and then creating new event categories. The view displays the weekly view, displays the event categories, displays the event information, shows the maps of the locations, reacts to user interactions, displays any of the data entry forms for the different types of data we have in the application, and then also updates all of the table view cells with the appropriate data. So some capability and limitations for this application. I feel like that I may not have implemented the MVC architecture correctly. So the CPU time is greatly increased, especially if you go to an event page, loading the map just kind of takes a while. So I think that something in my MVC architecture setup is just kind of slowing it down. Another thing is when adding a new event, if you enter kind of an inappropriate address for the location of the event, when that saves and then tries to kind of locate the address, it tends to kind of crash or just not work in the way you want to if it's not the right address. So if the map can't find the address, there's definitely some errors. So because of that and some other things, the app may crash at certain times. Overall, lessons learned is one is time management, kind of being able to um, separate the whole project into different tasks is really key. So you can kind of set up each individual module. That kind of plays into the MVC development by being able to separate the whole project into three different components. It's kind of easier to be able to work on individual components and then at some point kind of bring it all together. Helped in parsing JSON, learned a lot of kind of JSON related topics in distributed software. And it was just at that point, it was kind of felt difficult for me to be able to parse it and understand JSON data. But with this project and kind of the class in general, it helped. I kind of got a better understanding of how it's able to be processed and how it's able to be read. Also, from the project, I learned that testing is key. Just kind of based on different test cases and different tests. Sometimes the project may work, and then other times it may not work. So being able to test it widely and ensure that no crashes happen when you don't want it to is really important. Another key aspect is simplicity. Just especially with mobile applications, I think the simplicity of the application of like the user interface is really important, just because a user would want to keep using it and it's just easy for them to kind of understand how the app works and the capabilities of it. Last but not least, suggestions for improvement. Project-wise, I think there's only like maybe one lab day where you could kind of come in and the professor and the TA was there to kind of help you on your like the coding part of your lab. So if we just had more days on that, I think that would have helped with the development of the project just so I could kind of set benchmarks for myself where if I needed some help after working on it, I could go into that certain lab day and then get it fixed and then work on it more and then come in maybe like a week or two later if I needed help. Um, Suggestions just for the class. I think one key thing was that the professor taught the material and kind of explained it in a way that kind of clicked for me the first time, but he just didn't show that in the notes. So when I wanted to go back and study for it for like maybe labs or tests or anything, um, it was just kind of more difficult for me to remember exactly the way the professor explained it. So if there's like more detailed notes, it would just kind of help me for studying and other purposes. Another thing, just like if we could get grades back quicker, it would help. Sometimes I would get a grade back for a lab and it would show that I did I did something wrong in it, but then by the time that I got the grade back, I had already maybe implemented that's the same mistake in a different project. So if you could just get it back quicker, I would understand my mistakes, and then I wouldn't, repeat that mistake. But yeah, that is my whole project. Thank you.